My sister tricked me into thinking I was dead by sending my own obituary to the family. And if that line makes your skin prickle, imagine being me at 7-Eleven on a Tuesday morning, still in pajama shorts, holding a mug that says "Be kind" like an accusation, and opening a family group text to see my name followed by the dates of my life and a photo of me that I didn't even like. I'm June, 32, a high school English teacher who can pull a poem out of a fire drill and make a class of juniors debate whether Macbeth would have thrived in therapy. I can coax shy kids into reading their own sentences aloud. I cannot, it turns out, absorb the sight of my own obituary without dropping toast on the cat. The text came from my sister, Paige. She's 35 and has that firstborn turned PR manager energy, camera roll of sunsets, calendar of other people's birthdays, a tone that can convince you to apologize for something you haven't done yet. The message said, I can't. I'm shaking. I can't believe this. Under it, a link. Local writer and beloved teacher, 1993 to 2025. My breath snagged like a sweater on a nail. I tapped. The page loaded, a black banner, lilies, my picture from last year's staff directory cropped too tight, the one where I look like I'm remembering a dentist's appointment mid-smile. A paragraph, no several, about my unexpected passing at home, about my commitment to literature, about her surviving sister, Paige, and mother, Ruth. Nothing about my father, as if death had edited him out. A memorial address. A donate button. My heart did the drumroll for a magic trick I hadn't agreed to. My phone buzzed like a swarm. My mother, no then, no no no. Then, Paige, where are you? My aunt, crying face emojis in a row like rosary beads. My principal, please tell me this is a scam. My student Nora, sweet serious, once told me metaphors felt like secrets you got permission to keep. DM'd, I'm so sorry. You were the reason I stayed. I'll miss you. I stared at that past tense like it might confess. I called Paige. Straight to voicemail. Again. On the fourth try she answered, breathless. June? Where are you? Alive, I said. What is this? The words came out too calm, like a scene partner reading stage directions. Oh my God, she said. I thought, June, the police came to my door at 5. A wellness check. I thought they were coming to tell me. Then someone tagged me in the article and my brain, June, I'm so scared. Who wrote it? I asked, each word a brick. Who submitted it? It's on a real site. I don't, she started, and then quieter, it was emailed to me last night. I thought it was spam. The subject line said, sad news about June. I opened it, it looked official. I forwarded it to Mom and Aunt Renee to ask if they'd seen it, and then I fell asleep. Anne. You forwarded it. My voice did something it does when kids lie about plagiarism, softened because accusation doesn't make truth appear faster. I panicked, she said. I didn't think it was true, my hands moved. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, okay? I called the number on the site, they're not open yet. Text the group, I said. Tell them I'm breathing. Now. She did. The replies rolled in like a storm leaving town. My mother called and cried and apologized and then cried because she'd apologized. My principal wrote holy hell and cancelled the sub he'd ordered. Nora sent OMG you okay with enough exclamation marks to give grandma a nosebleed. I took screenshots of the article, the byline, staff, the errors, my middle initial wrong, my favorite book listed as The Great Gatsby when it's actually Beloved, which okay. Then I showered, put on real pants, and drove to the newspaper office downtown. Brick building, gold letters, the smell of ink that wants you to romanticize it. A receptionist with a bun that could hold a secret forever looked up at my face, looked at the printout I plopped on the counter, looked back at me like a magic trick she hadn't practiced. Can I help you? I would like to I said. On your website. 10 minutes later, I was in a conference room with a nervous editor named Lucas who kept saying, oh wow, like it was punctuation. We pulled it, he said, fingers flying. It's gone. He scrolled, squinted. It came in through our memorials portal. Automated. Usually those are from funeral homes. This one isn't. Who paid? I asked. Who wrote the copy? This says beloved teacher. My students call me MSJ. Whoever wrote this knows that. The paywall let it out. I need a name. He couldn't give me one. Privacy policies, blah. He could give me a number, a prepaid card. A burner. He looked 14 and ancient at once. I'm so sorry, he said, the phrase of the morning. Do you want us to run a correction? Reports of local woman's death greatly exaggerated? I stared at the printout with my face on it. No, I said. I want you to think about whatever process lets this happen and break it with a hammer. On the sidewalk outside, my phone rang. Paige. Again. It gets worse, she said, and someone behind her in a room, our mother, made a sound like a wounded animal. Mom got a text from Aunt Renee that she got a memorial invite for you on Facebook. With a date. It's at next Sunday at St. Peter's. We don't go to St. Peter's, I said. We go to St. Thomas. Haven't been in 6 months. Who made this? I don't know, she said, and then in one breath, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, I should have checked before I forwarded it, my brain. It's not that you forwarded it, I said, though it was a little. It's that someone wrote it. She started to cry. Everyone's calling me, she said. They're coming over. Can you come? Please. I went. Because I'm the sibling who goes. Because we are, regardless, a family. Because a part of me wanted to see her face when I walked in, wanted to map whether it was shock or guilt. Paige lives 10 minutes away in a townhouse with succulent walls and a chalkboard calendar like a command center. The living room was full, our mother, Aunt Renee, our neighbor who's known us since I was 8 and still calls me Junebug. They made the noises women make when another woman walks in after they've mourned her, relief, scolding, laughter that doesn't land. My mother hugged me so hard my back cracked. Don't you ever, she said into my hair, as if I had done this. Who else got it? I asked. Grandma. She doesn't have email, Aunt Renee said. Thank God. Her eyes flicked to Paige. Not kind. Not unkind. Calculating. I forwarded it to family my side, Paige said, hands up like a robber's. I didn't put it on Facebook. Her voice had that crispness of someone performing competence by narrating it. I called the paper. They are investigating. Show me the email, I said. She did, an inbox photo of a stylized black ribbon, my name, my wrong middle initial, your monthly newsletter has sad news. It linked to the article. The sender domain looked like the paper's at first glance, slightly wrong on the second, an L where a 1 would be. Phishing. But the article was real, which meant the prankster had both catfished and purchased. Whoever did this knows us, I said. They know my students call me Ms. J. They know St. Peter's. They got my middle initial wrong in the exact way Dad's girlfriend always has. 3 heads snapped to me. My mother's mouth turned into the line she uses for available hate. Diane, she asked, the vowel already sharpened. Or someone who knows Diane, I said. I don't want a lynch mob. I want a list. I opened notes and started typing. People who benefit, people who hate me, lol, people who think pranks are personality, people who still call me Junie. The list looked like my adolescent diary, and a police report had a baby. I'm calling the police, my mother said. This is harassment. She pressed 9 with righteous glee. Hold, I said. Let's collect first. Because if there's anything English teaching has prepared me for, it's that the first draft is all heat, no light. We did collect. All afternoon. We called the newspaper again. Lucas now had a manager on who used words like malicious fraud and process failure. The hostess at St. Peter's had indeed received a call from a grieving sister to reserve the hall for next Sunday with a name. Paige. My sister looked sick. That wasn't me, she said. I swear. I didn't call anyone. Who would use your name? Aunt Renee asked, skepticism as seasoning. My sister dropped into a chair like gravity had opinions. Paige and I share a face in certain light. the same jawline, the same eyebrows we used to get yelled at for picking. But we share little else. I am the quieter one, the late texter, the one who remembers to bring a book but forgets to bring napkins. She is chronically early, curated, the keeper of our family's myth. In that room she looked small, scared. And then a damn I didn't know I was holding crumbled, and I heard my own voice ask a question my good sense had refused to let me ask out loud. "Paige," I said so softly the room leaned in, "did you do this?" She looked up, shock first, then hurt. "How could you?" she started, and then cut herself off. "No." "Why would I know?" "Because you used to being the messenger," Aunt Renee muttered, and my mother glared. "Because you like attention," our neighbor offered, then put a hand over her mouth. "Sorry." "That was mean. I mean, this is unthinkable. Who would even?" My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "Did you like your funeral?" it read. "Practice makes perfect." My hands went ice cold. I showed the room. The thread had a text from 12 hours earlier I'd missed. "I'm sorry for your loss." No number, just a cluster of digits and my heart beating like a slammed door. We called the police. A young officer came, kind, bored, apologetic. He wrote everything down with a patient pen. "We can file a report," he said. "Impersonation, harassment. The paper will cooperate, they don't love being used. The memorial hall may have caller ID. You can put a fraud alert on your credit. And you might want to log off for a bit." He said that last part like an uncle giving advice about fireworks. He also did a wellness check on me hilariously right there like the universe was meta. "Are you safe?" he asked. "I'm breathing," I said. He nodded like that counted. That night in my apartment I did the thing my students think I do for fun, an investigation. Not because I wanted to play detective, but because answers are one of the few ways to make your pulse regular again. I pulled metadata from the PDF the paper had kept. I searched the burner phone digits through reverse lookup. I thought about who knew I'd been dreading next Sunday's shower. The one page insisted on planning with a theme I didn't want. "Final fling, funeral chic," she joked, which in hindsight made me want to throw up and also sue irony. I remembered the florist who asked if we wanted lilies because, you know, and my sister saying, "No, she's not that dramatic. Which pot, hello kettle." By midnight, I had a tree of possibilities and no fruit. I crawled into bed with the obituary printout on my nightstand like a bizarre vision board and stared at the ceiling. Between sleepless loops I kept seeing my students' faces. If they'd learned I'd died without my consent, how their grief would have been today. Righteousness warmed me like a bad blanket. I wanted whoever did this to feel the world closing around them in consequence. At 2:03 a.m. my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. "It worked," it read. She cried. My stomach flipped, cold coffee spill. I typed back before my brain could write a syllabus. "Who is this?" 3 dots. Then, "You tell me. You're the teacher." I lay there, heart pounding, images ricocheting, ex-boyfriends, mild enemies, weird uncles. Another text, "Open your door." I froze. And then I got angry in the way that feels like competence. I didn't. I called 911 and used my calm voice and said, "Unknown sender, threatening language, asked me to open my door." The dispatcher told me not to because in this life there are still some rules that work. 2 patrol cars. 2 officers. Nobody at the door by the time they clomped up my steps. A note, though, under the mat, a printed copy of the obituary with a Sharpie scribble. "Finally got your middle initial right. XO." I stared at the XO until it blurred. The officers installed their presence in my living room like a temporary couch. "Any suspicious X's?" one asked, not unkindly, just trained by television. "Any feuds?" "My job," I said, "is assigning homework, not making enemies." After they left, I messaged the number again. "If you touch my door again," I wrote, "you'll meet my neighbor, Mrs. Ortiz. She once threw a raccoon off her porch using a broom in pure rage." I blocked the number. Then I cried. Then I slept like someone had put a heavy coat on me. The next day, I taught. Because that's what I do when the world is absurd. I hand kids a poem and we talk about it like it can save us. Before first period, I stood at the door and told the ones who knew about the obituary because gossip moves like weather that I was alive. I tried a joke that landed like a defective parachute. Then I let them ask questions because teenagers will fill silence with speculation if you don't. Who did it? Why? Ms. J, that's messed up. Ms. J, are you okay? Ms. J, can we write satire about it? I said, give me 30 minutes, and then I read them a piece by Joan Didion about keeping on and we practiced. At lunch, Paige showed up outside my classroom, pale and brittle. Can we talk? She said. We walked to the courtyard. She handed me a printout. Call logs. Paige keeps receipts like a hobby. St. Peter's caller ID was spoofed, she said. The number that called was June, don't freak. It was Mom's landline. My mother's landline. I felt something inside me tilt again. We drove to our mother's together, silent, stunned, that kind of quiet that makes your ears buzz. Mom met us at the door, hair wet, dish towel slung like surrender. Paige held up the printout. Explain. Our mother looked at it, at us, at the ceiling, then sat down at the table like it was a witness stand. I called St. Peter's to ask what a memorial would even require, she said defensively. I didn't schedule anything. I wanted to be prepared. When your grandmother died, nobody knew what to do. You called because of a fake obituary, I said, remarkably even. About your alive daughter. Her face crumpled in that way that used to make me think empathy was more important than boundary. I panicked, she said. Your texts, you weren't answering. I thought if it was true I had to, I thought I could handle it for you. You can't, I said. You can't handle my death before I'm done living. She started to cry. Paige half reached, then didn't. Did you call the paper? I asked. She shook her head. No. I wouldn't. I'm not. She looked at me like I'd abandoned her on a boat she insisted we all board. You think I would write about you in the past tense? No, I said. But I think you wanted to be the one to manage the version where I'm gone. It's how you maintain power. That's not the same as love. Silence. It sat with us like a fourth person who didn't know where to put their hands. Paige spoke first. What if this is Connie? Connie is our cousin. 28. Earnest. Restless. She runs on performative empathy and iced coffee, posts a lot of carousel slides about boundaries while ignoring every single one, and once turned our grandmother's memorial into a celebration of grief with a photo booth. Last week she asked if she could do my wedding favors and I said maybe we'd talk. She responded with a 12-slide deck and a Venmo request to get started. I denied it. Later she texted Paige, June doesn't value my work. Paige hadn't told me because she is a filtered messenger by trade. Now she pulled up the thread. It made my neck go cold. The last message from Connie, timestamped 2 nights ago at 1:17 a.m. read, she'll get the message. We drove to Connie's. We didn't plan this part. There's a way family sends you into scenes without blocking. She opened the door in athleisure and an expression that thought it was stoic and was actually guilt. Her apartment smelled like eucalyptus and ambition. What's up, she said, too casual. Paige held up the obituary like a warrant. I held up my phone with the burner texts. Our mother stood behind us, the ghost of I told you she was trouble hovering near her mouth. Connie blinked. Okay, before you freak, she said, which is the national anthem of people who expect you to. It was a concept. A concept, I repeated, letting each syllable burn. I am not a mood board. It was a wake-up call, she said. You're not present. You're always grading. You don't let me help. You don't appreciate me. I thought if you saw what it would be like without you, you'd. I don't know. Reprioritize. Make amends. Realize how much you matter. You faked my death, I said, and my voice did not rise because the flatness of certain facts is louder. You sent my mother into panic. You sent my students into grief. You sent the police to Paige's door at dawn. You made a Facebook event. That wasn't me, she said quickly before we asked. Who was it? I asked. She looked down, then out. I asked my friend to amplify, she said. He does social. He's good at making things land. He made the event. He told me not to worry, he would handle the optics. Her air quotes made me want to throw furniture. I could feel my mother bristle like a porcupine discovering a new hobby. Paige's face did the thing where she builds a spreadsheet behind her eyes. I stepped past both of them and into Connie's kitchen because rage needs a room with surfaces. Here's what's going to happen, I said, vowels razor clean. You're going to email the paper a confession of fraud in your name. You're going to send a correction to everyone you sent it to. You're going to call St. Peter's and tell them you lied. You're going to post a public apology and say my name the way you do when you ask for favors, gently. You're going to send my students' families an apology through the PTA address you used without permission. You're going to Venmo any donation money back with a note that says, I'm sorry I manipulated you. And then you're going to leave me alone for 6 months. Connie's mouth opened. 6 months? That's so arbitrary. Boundaries often are, I said. It's how we find out if the other person respects the line or just its aesthetics. She looked at Paige, then at our mother, then back at me. This is so cruel, she said, tears producing themselves with the professionalism of a seasoned actor. I was trying to help you. You cannot help by setting a fire and then offering me water you poisoned, I said. This is not a TED Talk. This is cruelty with Canva. She sobbed. She did the thing where she made her whole body available to be held. I didn't move. Neither did my sister for once. Our mother almost did, then stepped back like the floor had told her something. Connie looked confused, like we had forgotten our blocking. I'm sorry, she said, small voice curdled by the first honesty of the afternoon. I thought you'd thank me. I could have. In some alternate universe, the cousin who always needs attention got it and we all move on, and I call it weird but effective. In this one, I chose my mind. No, I said. I'm not thanking the person who wrote my past tense. We did the calls. The paper's lawyer's voice changed registers when Connie said the words. I submitted it. The Memorial Hall lady said, "That's cruel," with such tired clarity I wanted to send her flowers. Connie's social friend posted a note that read apologies for any confusion, and I wrote him an email so sharp it should require a license, and he edited it to harm. The apology came out that night, a gray square, white text, "To my community I messed up," the sort of performative atonement you see and scroll past. My students screenshotted it. "Ms. J, your cousin is a menace," one wrote. "No notes," I replied. The police called the next morning. Charges were unlikely, intent is slippery, impersonation is tricky. The paper offered to run a profile on me, real, alive teacher who survived a death hoax, and I said no. I did not want to spend another day inside that narrative. Instead, I wrote a letter to my students and their families titled "The Rumors of My Death," and I told them what I tell them about any rumor. Ask yourself who benefits, who gets the microphone, what story feels good to believe even when it's bad. I told them I cried because seeing your own eulogy is a kind of violent mirror. I told them I took a walk while the sun did its job and tried to imagine someone choosing to live with me longer. I told them your life is not a lesson plan for someone else's character development. I told them I would be in room 214 tomorrow, with the skylight the contractor never fixed and the plant that refuses to die. They sent back hearts and "see you" and one "this is so metal," which I took as love. As for my sister, we learned something about us that day. She did not write my obituary. She forwarded it. She amplified an untruth that matched her fear. She loves being the one who knows first, who tells. We had coffee and named that thing between us without turning it into a courtroom. "I don't want the job of family broadcaster," I said. "I want the job of a live person." She nodded and said, "I'll count to 10 next time." She wrote herself a sticky note that said "pause." My mother and I rewrote a script too. She apologized without the word "but." She said, I wanted to control what I couldn't, and I said, you can love me instead, and she said, I'm practicing, and I decided to let that be my favorite prayer. 6 months went by. Connie stayed away. When I saw her at a wedding, she looked at my shoes and said, cute, like a weather forecast, and I said, thank you, and we both admired our ability to make small talk around a crater. She sent a card at Christmas that said, I'm working on not making everything a message, and I put it on the mantel like a fragile ornament, pretty, possible, dangerous. There's a faded printout tacked to my bulletin board at school now. It's a fake front page my students made in journalism club, Ms. J lives, with a photo of me squinting at the sun. The subhead reads, sources confirm rumor unreliable, subject spotted teaching comma splices. It makes me laugh every time. Underneath it, in smaller text, it says, we keep going. We do. In the class where the windows open too much and the heater hisses like a stagehand, we write and we read, and sometimes I tell them the truth in a way that lets them keep theirs. There will be people, I say, who prefer your story without you. Don't give them the editorial rights. Keep your own byline. The last time my mother called to tell me some relative's news, she stopped herself mid-sentence. I'm not the town crier, she said with a little laugh that sounded like the beginning of a new muscle. I'm just a woman who loves her daughter. I put the phone on my shoulder and corrected essays and cried into a comma. On a bright day in March, I led my kids outside to write epigraph poems in chalk on the walkway. A boy who never talks wrote, I was here, then stepped back and said, I like seeing my name and knowing it's not a tombstone. I said, me too. We stood there together a minute, the sun doing what it always does, my pulse an ordinary drum in my wrist. I am here. I teach. I eat toast. I write my own lines, and when someone else tries to write them, I add correction at the end and keep going. I am not a concept. I am a person. And I'm not done.